Hello, SPED 2010 students. I hope you guys had a great spring break. So remember, if you guys did anything fun for spring break, I'd love to hear your stories. So please just, you can text us, you can email us, let us know what you did, email me. I would just love for you to share kind of what you did. And hopefully if you didn't do anything, you at least got to relax a little bit. So this week, we're going to be doing behavior. So it's like I mentioned in the last video, it's really going to be it's 2 weeks compiled into one because we're talking about the same topic, which is behavior. So I kind of wanted to go over what you're going to be doing. I told you could work over this spring break if you wanted to. If not, you can just do it this week. So this week you are having your functional behavior assignment and then your IRIS case study, which are all about behavior, which will be due on Sunday. So let's go ahead and jump into kind of what you're going to be doing this week. So of course our goals this week are really for you to help look at how would you create a behavior intervention plan. Provide one preventative strategy, replacement strategy, and replacement skill. You're also going to be looking at how to write a hypothesis of a function based on a functional behavior assessment. And then you're going to be looking at classroom rules inside of a school-wide support plan. So this is really your goal for week 7. So this week you're going to really be looking at classroom management, student behavior, positive behavior support, which is BPS. And then you're also going to be looking at learners who have emotional or behavioral disorders. So far as your learning and reading tasks, you're going to be looking at a teacher's guide to special education. You're going to read chapter 7 and then you'll read chapter 8 in your exceptional learners. So I have some resources here for you. As far as your assessment and your assignment this week, you're going to be completing the IRIS module. And after you do that, at the end, there's an assessment, and there are going to be 7 questions that you will put on a Word document and copy over to a Word document and answer them, and then that's what you will be submitting to Dropbox as one of your 2 assignments. So that's how you will be assessed. So let's go ahead and look at an overview as far as what it looks like for your learning resources. So you have your chapter textbooks that I want you to read, which I put here. And then I have some resources. I also have a PowerPoint here. It talks about underlying reasons for behavior, It also talks about what a functional behavior assessment is. And your IRIS module will go even further into that because that was your focus for part of your assignment and being assessed on. So make sure that you pay close attention to that because we also have questions on the test from that. So you're going to learn the difference between a functional behavior assessment and what a behavior intervention plan is. Okay, so you're going to look at defining problem behaviors. How do you define behavior? What are the steps to conducting a functional behavior assessment? Okay, so it lists the 6. Make sure that you take note of that. Okay, and it goes a little bit further into each of the steps of the functional behavior assessment. Okay, it also talks a little bit further into when we're looking at functional behavior assessment because you're really trying to figure out why that student is displaying those behaviors. So we need to figure out why that problem behavior keeps happening. So we have to look at what we call the trigger, right? What's the function of that behavior. So to do that, we have something called an ABC observation. So when you're collecting data for your functional behavior assessment, you have 2 ways you can do it. You can do indirect assessment. Okay, so this could be like interviews with the child or the parents or anyone who has direct contact, like teachers. Then you also have a direct assessment. So this is where you're going to collect your data, right? So you're going to observe the problem behavior and you're going to describe the conditions surrounding the behavior. So we have something called ABC, right? So when we're looking at direct observation, we're going to be looking at different kinds of observations. So we have interval recording, where we're going to observe different like specific intervals of time. We have event recording, where we're just going to be tallying the number of events that happen. We have duration. This is looking at how long a behavior actually lasts. And then we have latency recording, which is the time between the antecedent and the behavior. So antecedent, we're going to figure out, it's kind of like a trigger. We're trying to predict like when this happened, like why, where, during what routine did this happen, when did this happen, so what's triggering it. The behavior is what you're observing, and the outcome, or the C, is the consequence. So what happens immediately following that behavior? So this is just giving you a visual, if you will, of ABC. And then we have a really neat video here about a little boy named Cameron, and then we also have one on Joseph about how we use that behavior to fill in the ABC chart. Okay, so remember, whenever we give students consequences for behavior, the consequences will either increase or decrease the probability that that behavior is going to continue in the future. So that's kind of what the premise is behind collecting this data, so we can figure out how to stop that behavior, to change it. Okay, I also have something on manifestation determination in school discipline that I'd like to read. This is an alternate resource, but I feel like it's important, so make sure that you look at that. I also said that you had an assignment, so your assignment is going to be completing this IRIS module. So the IRIS module is a really wonderful resource. It allows you to go further, gain a further understanding of the information. So this one's going to look specifically at functional behavior assessments and how can you really identify the reasons for these problem behaviors, and helps you determine how to develop a plan. So once you're in the IRIS module, once you go through it, if you look at the end, there's actually an assessment. So I'm going to skip to the assessment component. So here are the 7 questions I told you that I wanted you to copy. So what you're going to do is, for the assessment on this IRIS module, so once you've completed the IRIS module, you'll look here. You're going to answer the following questions. Okay. So the 3rd question here has a video. It wants you to watch the video below, and you're going to fill out an ABC analysis on Kira, the girl in the white shirt, so she'll be watching her in the video. You're going to try to figure out what the function of Kira's behavior is, so what's the reason, right? And you can click here to click on the form and download it. Okay, so you're going to complete this form here. And then this is what you will submit as well. Okay. After you do that, you're going to look at Nigel. It tells you about Nigel's problem. Okay, so he makes derogatory comments towards students, he spits, he yells, he shoves, he curses. So it says, which direct observation method would you use to collect Nigel's behavior? So you're going to figure out which direct one would help you figure out the most about how to solve it. And then you're going to look at this matrix below and kind of figure out the function of behavior and create a hypothesis statement. Okay, so most students, whenever we're looking at the functions of behavior and trying to figure them out, they're either trying to obtain something or they're trying to avoid something, or avoid to get out of something. So when they were obtaining something, a lot of times it's attention. Avoiding means you're trying to get out of something. So you're going to try to figure out what his function is. Okay, so some of it's filled out here for you. So you'll have to look here. There's different sections like attention, tangibles or activities, and then you have sensory conditions. Then you're going to look at the graph below. And you're going to try to figure out how to reduce Nigel's problems such as cursing, making derogatory comments, spitting, shoving chairs. So you're going to try to figure out how. So this is the intervention they have decided for Nigel. So you're going to think about, and this is the question you have to ask yourself, if you look at this data, right, and the intervention they made for him, this is his problem behavior in red. This is the replacement behavior. These are the appropriate interactions we want him to have. So you'll have to look here on the left side, it talks about the different instances of aggression, right, that's happened. So do we feel like this is helping? So if we're looking at the graph and the data here, do you think that this problem behavior is increasing or decreasing? Remember, we want replacement, appropriate interactions. That's the yellow. So look where it falls on the graph. Okay? Now it doesn't tell us a time length because we're not really worried about time. If you look at the bottom, it talks about the number of observations they've had. They've had 7 so far. So if I'm looking at this, okay, this is the replacement behaviors we want, and then this is the negative behaviors that we are watching him and observing. So does it look like the intervention's working? You're going to hit yes or no and explain your answers. And then the 7th one is to discuss why it's important to evaluate, implement fidelity. Okay, that just means explain why it's important to make sure that your data is implemented correctly. All right, so that'll be part of your behavior. The next part is we're going to go into is week 8. So I'm going to click on week 8. Okay, I also wanted to point out on week 7, I went ahead and gave you a Kahoot, which is kind of like a quiz to test your knowledge on behavior. So make sure you take it because I really feel like it will help you. So week 8 is really going further into behavior, and it's looking at behavior intervention plans. So I have a web page here for you. Okay, so make sure that you look at it. It's going to talk a little bit about the behavior intervention plan and how you can understand it a little bit further. And then there is a video here for you to watch as well. Okay, from reading from the textbook, okay, read chapter 8 in Exceptional Learners. I have other resources here that I feel like would help you if you want them. There is another PowerPoint here, and this is just an introduction to FBA, or functional behavior analysis. I feel like this is really going to help you. So I would save these 2 PowerPoints because you could use these later to help you whenever you're studying for the test. So it's really going to be talking about breaking down the steps when we're looking at what a functional behavior assessment is. So it goes back to what we talked about in week 7. That's why we put them together. They're really kind of just mirroring each other and giving you a further understanding. So we're looking at how we collect data, the ABC observations, what other types of direct observations you can do. Okay, it goes into what an actual FBA is. It talks about the different behavior systems. So I want you to go through this PowerPoint and look at it. It even goes back to talk about the informal interviews. It talks about the different kinds of direct observations. So this is just kind of reiterating what we were talking about for week 7. Okay, so for the second assignment that you will be turning in is an IRIS case study assignment. So what you're going to do here is you're going to read this IRIS case study unit measuring behavior. You're going to watch the IRIS video. Okay, so there's a short video here. And what you're going to do is you're going to try to record her behavior. Okay, so we're going to target the student's behavior and the frequency of how often this happened. Okay, guys, this is really to help you practice. This I will kind of grade, but I'm really looking at if you understand about frequency and how to collect the data. Not really so much looking at in dialing in as far as if you are getting accurate percentage. What we're trying to look at really is if you can complete the data and collect it. So it'll make more sense when we go through it. But what you're going to do is, to do this assignment, you're going to read the case study here. Okay, and I would download this and keep it. This is great information. It talks about target behaviors, replacement behaviors. It gives you examples. It talks about what you actually want to measure as a teacher. That's going to help you figure out what data observation you actually need to do. Okay, and it talks about the different ways that you can look at measuring behavior. So we're going to be doing the frequency event recording. Okay, so that's going to be your assignment, because if you look, the frequency of the target behavior. So I would pay close attention to this page here, because this is what you're going to be talking about. Okay, here is an example of the event recording. If you look, when we're doing event recordings, we're really just marking the time the behavior occurs. So here's an example. You'd have the date, the time that you started the observation, and the time ended. If you look here, it was only 15-minute time. What you're going to do is every time that behavior occurs, you're going to put a tally mark. Okay, so this happened 18 times. What you're going to do is then take how many times it occurred and divide it by how long you were actually observing. So for instance, that behavior, they watched it occur 18 times. They only observed the child for 15 minutes. So you're going to take 18 and divide it into 15 minutes. And every 1.2 minutes, that behavior occurred. That's going to let you know how often something's happening. So you're going to be watching the student here, and you're going to do a data collection, right? A form. So if you'll look here, inside the instructions, it gives you a form to download. And it even tells you here, complete the interval record data practice sheet. So you have it in two places. You can have it here and download it, or you can get it from here. So I'm going to pull the sheet up. Okay, so we look here. I only want you to concentrate on the top section. We're not doing interval, we're really only concentrating on frequency. So what you're going to do is the time is already there for you. They only watch the student for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So you are just going to be working on this top section. What you're going to do is you're going to tally how many times by putting a tally mark that behavior occurred. You're going to put for length of observation 2 minutes 30 seconds, because her time started at 10:30 and we stopped it at 10:32. And then you're going to put the rate. So you're going to tally however many times this happened divided by how long you were observing her, and that will give you your rate. So that's what you're going to be focusing on. This interval is really just so you can see how many times it occurred within intervals, but I'm not focusing that, and that's what I was telling you earlier. We really want to focus just on how many times it's happening. Okay. So once you do that, you will go ahead and submit that to Dropbox. So you're only going to be doing the top section of that worksheet. So those are the two things you're going to turn in. To turn it in, we'll go back to week 8. Okay, you'll see there is a drop box. I also want to draw your attention that this week you have a chance for an optional rad. So if you need to make up your rads and you've only done one and you still have 3 more to do, I would suggest going ahead and completing a reading assignment discussion. So that is an option if you want to complete it. If you do, the article is in there for you as well. So you can do the article. Okay, I also put in here for you, let me get back to it. I also put in here a Nearpod quiz. This is a link to get to a quiz that helps test you on your functional behavior and see if it's making any kind of sense and if you're understanding the material at all. Okay, so just to reiterate for your assignment, you do have 2. Remember, when you're doing the IRIS case study, you're not going to be completing the entire form, you're just going to be completing the frequency section. For week 7, you will be completing the IRIS module, and you will be turning in the actual assessment. Okay, so that just means that when you're in it, I only want you, I'm going to go straight to assessment. You will be copying and pasting these 7 questions. Now, I had a question before about this. I would just copy and paste this into a Word document. Don't paste the video. You don't need it. I just want you to do the video and fill out the ABC analysis chart. And then that's what you'll be turning in for 3. Okay, so if you want, I would just copy 1, 2, and then your third one will be the ABC analysis, but you have to watch the video to complete it. And then for 5, some people put the table in there, some people don't. They just write attention, tangible things, and then sensory conditions. And they try to figure out if Nigel's obtaining attention or is he trying to avoid it. Is he trying to get tangibles of activities? Is he trying to gain or avoid? And then sensory conditions, so that's all you have to do there. And then the 6th one, you're just going to answer the question if you feel like the intervention is helping Nigel at all, and if not, why? So would you keep it, would you modify it, or you just continue it all together and just explain? And then the 7th one, you're going to just discuss why it's important to evaluate implementation fidelity. Okay, so that, and this will all make more sense once you go through the IRIS module. Alright guys, so that is what we have for this week. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.